Morning light spilled through the tall glass windows of a luxury restaurant, glinting off silver cutlery and untouched champagne. The air was thick, not with conversation, but with pressure. Two men sat across from each other, one an American billionaire named Richard Hale, the other a Japanese business icon, Mr. Tanaka. Between them rested a deal worth millions and a silence worth even more. Richard had built empires. He'd turned skyscrapers into gold, but right now he looked helpless. His translator had canceled last minute. His palms were sweating, his mind racing. Across the table, Mr. Tanaka waited, polite but puzzled. Every attempt Richard made to explain himself failed. The deal was slipping through his fingers like water. At a nearby table, a young waitress named Lena Brooks quietly refilled glasses, her eyes sharp. She wasn't supposed to notice. Staff at this place were trained to be invisible, but Lena had always been different. She noticed the tremble in Richard's hands, the frustration behind his forced smile, and the quiet sadness in Mr. Tanaka's expression. Her heart tugged. She knew that feeling, being unheard. Just a year ago, she'd been living in her car after her father's death, clutching his old Japanese English dictionary. He'd been a language teacher who always said, "Words are respect. Understanding is love." When Richard muttered under his breath, "God, I can't do this," Lena froze. Then, without thinking, she stepped forward. In perfect Japanese, she softly greeted Mr. Tanaka. His eyes widened. Richard looked up, confused. "I speak Japanese," Lena said quietly. "If you'll let me, I can help." For the first time that morning, hope flickered. She sat between them and began translating, not just words, but meaning. When Richard talked about profits, Lena spoke of partnership. When he mentioned growth, she translated it as legacy. Her voice bridged two worlds with empathy money could never buy. Minutes turned into hours. The room once filled with silence now hummed with warmth. Mr. Tanaka began to smile, his stern face softening. He even laughed, a quiet, genuine laugh that carried across the table. By the time the meeting ended, everything had changed. Mr. Tanaka stood, bowed slightly, and said in slow English, "Your waitress has a good heart. That's the kind of company I trust." The deal was signed. As the room cleared, Richard turned to Lena, speechless. "You didn't just save the deal," he said softly. "You reminded me what business is really about." That night, as Lena was leaving, Richard waited outside. Under the city lights, he handed her an envelope, a check large enough to change her life. But Lena shook her head. "I don't want money," she said. "I just want to believe in people again." The next morning, Richard called her. Not with a tip, but with a job offer. A permanent position in his company's global relations team. Months later, Lena wasn't serving tables anymore. She was leading projects that connected small companies around the world, bridging cultures, just like she had that morning. And every time she looked at her father's old dictionary, she remembered his words. Understanding is love. Because sometimes, one act of kindness can turn a stranger's silence into a lifetime of meaning. If this story touched your heart, like, share, and subscribe to HOA Chronicles, where real stories remind us that kindness is still the world's strongest language.